had said that Jordan Love will not practice until the two sides have reached an agreement on a contract extension. Stephen A., what do you think about the news?
I have no issue with this whatsoever for Jordan Love. This is the National Football League. Going out there and practicing, your season could be over in a practice session in football. You get your money first. I have no issue with this with Jordan Love whatsoever.
All right, back to the NFL, where week 1 is just 45 days away, paging Southern Steve. The Dallas Cowboys open training camp this week. Tons of headlines for them in an offseason where Jerry Jones said they were going all in. Meanwhile, the team did not make any big splash additions to their roster. There's also contract extensions with 3 stars, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons, all awaiting extension. COO and co-owner Stephen Jones had this to say on paying their guys.
We're trying to a little bit play Houdini and how to keep all these guys around Dak. When you start stacking them up like that, it's a challenge. It's not that it's not doable, but you certainly got to have some give and take if you want to do that. I know the Vikings there with Jefferson, when they, made that inordinate deal at the receiver spot, they don't have one player on their team other than Jefferson making over $20 million. It's no excuses. We think we can get this done. Know we can get it done. But it just takes time.
All right, let's bring in the man who found the fountain of youth. Clearly, he's living right. The one and only coach, the player, Herm Edwards. Great to see you. Coach, we got a kind of big delay with you, so I'm going to keep it rolling here. Stephen A., what's your reaction to what Stephen Jones had to say?
Listen, I don't want to hear that. Listen, I don't blame him. Let me take that back. I don't blame Steve.
This is your friend.
I don't blame my buddy, him and Jerry Jones, my buddies, okay? I don't blame them. And I have to confess, Coach, Harry, it's all my fault. It's all my fault.
You did
I've been away. You see what I'm saying? I've been away.
Yeah.
And so what happens is because I've been away, the Dallas Cowboys haven't been getting the attention they crave. And so they got to say some nonsensical stuff and put it in the media and go on the headlines to remind everybody, excuse me, we're still here, because we damn sure don't show up in the playoffs. But we're still here right now. You see what I'm saying? This is what they had to do, all right? So this is what it's about. I haven't been around. I've been chilling. I've been on my vacation.
What have you been doing?
That's undisclosed tropical location.
All of a sudden you're stuttering for the first time in your life.
Undisclosed tropical location.
Tell everybody your business now.
Something like that. They don't know where. But here's the deal.
Sometimes they catch you.
At the end of the day, what it comes down to is this, all right? You look at Stephen Jones, and they haven't done anything. They made a big mistake, Harry. They made a big mistake, Coach, not getting Derrick Henry. How you let him get to the Baltimore Ravens? If you get Derrick Henry in Dallas, especially for the money, because they only get like $8 million from Baltimore. If you get him in Dallas, you take an inordinate amount of pressure off of Dak Prescott, and therefore, because of that, he might not sit up there and panic come January. You understand? You ever thought about that? You take some of the load, some of the pressure off of him. It may have actually helped him and elevated his stock, but you didn't do that. So now it's perceived as you being at the mercy of Dak Prescott. I'm not buying that one bit. Certainly, you got to take care of those 3 because you didn't go out in the offseason and do much. But my priority would be Micah Parsons. That's me. And the reason I say that, I understand from a business perspective, it's the National Football League, the quarterback's the priority. I get all of that. CeeDee Lamb is a stud. We get all that. I understand that. Yep. But I'm talking mystique. I'm talking the brother that shows up and, excuse me, listen, I'm going to get at the quarterback. I'm going to hold it down on the defensive side of the ball. We going to make up for what we know the quarterback ain't going to give us. Now, we can't make up. And I understand they got blitzed by Green Bay in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That's on them. They just did. I don't know what the hell was wrong with them. Had players coming on talking about they were tired. They came on first take, they were talking about they were tired. I don't know if you saw that episode. They were talking about they were tired. You understand what I'm saying? I couldn't believe it.
That was on our show.
I said it was on our show. So I get that. I'm just saying, I just think that Micah Parsons, nobody's LT, and I'm certainly not implying that, and he's got to show up in the playoffs too, but Micah Parsons, to me, is that dude that personifies so much of what Cowboy fans believe they are. I'm taking care of that brother. I'm not losing that brother.
Now, Stephen A., we already know the quarterback position is the most important.
I know.
And if you don't have Dak Prescott, you're putting your faith in Trey Lance?
You know what? How about Cooper Rush?
Are you, please, don't you dare do that. Don't do that, Stephen A.
Hey,
Don't disrespect Dak like that.
Cooper
Please
Rush
don't
held
do
it
that.
down.
Yeah, he did hold it down.
Just like Joe
He did
Flacco
hold
held
it
it
down.
down. Cooper Rush held it
He
down.
did hold
You
it
know
down.
I'm right.
Please.
He did hold
Carry
it
on.
Y'all spare me with the nonsense.
Carry on.
I think the quarterback position is the one you got to take care first. But here's the thing. If I'm Dak Prescott, I don't want it done right now. If I'm Dak Prescott, I want to get to the end of the season. Because number one, I'm going to bet on myself.
I understand that.
The most important thing any NFL player wants to do to get to be an unrestricted free agent. He can't be franchise tagged, Stephen A. He can't be traded. So the ball right now, in my opinion, when it comes to contract negotiations or a contract overall, is in Dak Prescott's court. Now, when you talked about Michael Parsons, you said, he's going to ball. He's going to show up for you. In playoffs too?
Listen, brother.
No, because you can't. I ain't gonna let you get on Dak Prescott. I'm not gonna.
What?
So?
What?
So was Aaron Donald.
Listen, you can't compare the
So
two.
was Aaron Donald.
You can.
Aaron Donald was double team, triple team.
man, come
He
on.
showed up no matter what.
Aaron
If you
Donald.
great, it don't matter.
Aaron
You don't think T.J. Watt not double team?
That's the analogy.
Is T.J. Watt not double team?
Donald or T.J. Watt, those are the analogies you use. I mean, these
Well,
are
when you
generational
mention
kind of
Lawrence
guys.
Taylor and then you tell me Michael Parsons, of course I'm gonna bring up other guys.
I got
All
you.
right.
Who's double team or
got
triple
you.
team.
I got you.
All right, can we bring in another,
you.
the Herm who knows a little bit about football too? Herm, can you be the tiebreaker for me here?
Well, it's real simple. And Stephen A. mentioned it, and Harry's mentioned it. We can say all we want about the Dallas Cowboys and how they play during the season. This football team has won 36 games, similar to the Kansas City Chiefs, except the Kansas City Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls. These guys don't show up in the bright lights when the playoff starts. That's the problem. Dak Prescott has 2 playoff wins. Jerry Jones has watched this over and over and over again. He's watched it at the quarterback position with Dak. Dak had his best year, threw 36 touchdown passes last year. Number 1 offense, scored 29 points last year, a game. But this is a team, when it gets into the playoffs, the lights are too bright for the Cowboys. They're stars. Stephen A., stars got to show up in playoff competition. They haven't done that. That has been their Achilles heel. They win games during the season, and you talk about those 3 players, they're all fantastic. There's no doubt about it. But what do you do in the playoffs? We just talked about Lamar Jackson not winning Super Bowls, right? That's where Lamar Jackson's at right now. Can he win some Super Bowls? It's about the playoffs. What do you do in the playoffs? The Dallas Cowboys get eliminated. They haven't been to the championship game since 1995, Stephen A. That's a long time, last time I checked.
It's a long time.
Well, I love how you talking to me like I didn't remember. I mean, I got the date for you. You need the date and the time they went home? I mean, I know them. I know them by heart. I ain't worried about it. I mean, I know exactly what it
I do too.
is. But listen, in all seriousness, Harry, again, from a football standpoint, nobody can dispute what you're saying. I'm not even trying to. I know the quarterback. I'm just saying he don't deserve it. 2 playoff victories in 8 years, man. I mean, listen, we talk about the market, and I get the notion that you are what the market, your value is what the market says it is. And I'm not.
Don't deserve it, or
He doesn't deserve it because he doesn't show up in the postseason. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they just paid Trevor Lawrence $55 million a year.
Well, listen, I got.
I mean, that's the same person.
I saw Trevor Lawrence overcome a 27-0 deficit and win a playoff game the year before. Now, last year he wasn't great.
Not Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, yes.
Okay, you did. You're right.
Jacksonville, 2 years ago. All right, now last year he didn't do that, but the year before he did that. I'm saying I'm looking at a Dak Prescott. Do you know that Dak Prescott's best playoff performance, one could easily argue, was in a loss to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? When they lost, when Aaron Rodgers sat up there and scrambled to his left and threw that dime down the left sideline. I mean, you look at Aaron Rodgers and his greatness, and that overcame Dak Prescott in a playoff game against Green Bay early in the year. I think it was his first playoff game. Outside of that, Dak Prescott has wet the bed on far too many occasions, bro. And I'm saying to you, don't get me wrong, you got to give him his money because of the market. But I'm just saying, I'm just looking at him. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, are you excited about retaining Dak Prescott?
Are you excited?
Excited.
Are you excited?
Excited.
For Trey Lance or Cooper Rush
No.
as your quarterback?
No. But what I'm
because
saying
you won't even be relevant if one of those guys are your quarterback.
I'm saying to you that, guess what? I can make an argument. What do I got to lose? I can make that argument because of what we see come January from Dak Prescott.
Where do you have Dak Prescott? Like, where do you rank him amongst top quarterbacks?
You know where I have him, Molly.
Tell
That's
him.
why you bring it up.
Okay, well, I want Herm to react.
Number 5 in the NFL right now,
The
based
entire
off what he
NFL.
did last year.
Okay.
The entire NFL.
I have him number 5. He's fifth on my list.
Okay, so you clearly talk about regular season.
Herm, I need to hear from you.
He's fifth on my list.
Harry. Yeah, Harry. Harry, you're saying number 5 during the regular season.
There we go.
Well, Coach, Coach, I don't know if y'all remember this.
Yeah, keep in mind, Dak had one of the best regular seasons amongst quarterbacks, right? But disappointed in the playoffs when Jordan Love and the Packers ended their season early on their home turf. Much of the talk this offseason is whether Jerry's going to pay all of his stars, one of them being Prescott. Meanwhile, CeeDee Lamb, he continues to hold out. He wants to get paid. Last week, we heard from both Dak and Jerry saying it could be a possibility, Swaggo. Are you listening?
Yeah.
He's not donning the star helmet next season. Big Jerry, what's the latest?
Well, Dak for us is I get in trouble every time I make comparisons. Okay, I do get in trouble. And of course, we saw a head-to-head match with Green Bay last year. We've all got that burr in our saddle. I'm anxious for Dak to get a chance to show he's the best with the Cowboy star on it.
And you think he can do that without a new deal?
Oh yes,
What
yes,
gives you that
yes. But don't. That might imply that we're not going to do a new deal, and that's just not the case. Those things change. It can happen.
Okay, so to be clear, that was Jerry being asked if Dak is a better quarterback than Jordan Love. Now, the reaction is up to you.
RC first.
Why? You're a former Cowboy. You live in Texas.
But then what they say on the paper?
Oh, well, I can't call an audible.
I'm processing.
All right, RC, you know what?
RC, let me process.
You know what? I got to say one thing. I process like a dude. I do the same thing, so I'm with you on it. Let's give him a moment. Go ahead.
Hey, well, Molly, I don't need a moment because emotionally I'm not tied to this.
You're not
at all.
invested.
And so I can talk about it at all.
Yeah.
The thing is right. The question was, as you said, Molly, is Dak better than Jordan Love? Which would imply, if you think he is, then you should give him a contract and pay him his money, and it should be more than $55 million, which just made Jordan Love the highest player ever in the NFL. But I don't think that Jerry actually believes that, because Jerry pointed to the head-to-head matchup in the playoffs in which Jordan Love greatly outplayed Dak Prescott. And if he says that, then he has to admit that Dak Prescott should already have his contract when he doesn't. And maybe Jerry doesn't believe he should pay Dak that sort of money when they keep finding themselves out of the playoffs before the NFC Championship. And he was trying to give us the love the one you're with answer. Dak for us. But he couldn't even bring himself to do it. Jerry Jones chose that moment to be honest. And isn't that what we want from our owners? Honesty? So Jerry Jones couldn't bring himself to lie and say, nope, I think Dak is better. And even if he says it, then everybody's going to say, well, what happened in the playoffs? And now we got to talk about Dak's playoff struggles. I agree with this. This is what I know. Dak is going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL next year. He may get $60 million a year. He may get $65 million a year, whatever it is, because he is going to have a really good regular season because Dak Prescott always has a really good regular season. But for the next 5 years, I, like Jerry Jones seems to be, would take Jordan Love before I took Dak Prescott.
Yeah. So this is why I love being on TV with RC, because we both from Louisiana, and we both can see two sides. RC, I wanted him to lie. Because he lies a lot.
Yeah.
Like
why,
I wanted.
Why
like
now?
why now?
Why is morality?
Why? Yeah. Why?
What's the date today?
Yeah.
Why are we worried about morality?
Why was that answer
like,
different?
Are you going to confession later?
Right. Like what the hell? I didn't watch you lie for the last 5 years. I've been covering the NFL
wanted him to lie
for ESPN.
Like,
just say, yeah,
protect your
Dak
boy.
better.
Sometimes
Dak better.
you gotta lie to help people's feelings.
There you go. RC, and you know this, and Molly, you know this. We've all dated. We've all dated before, right? And we've all had a plan for a date. And we've at times told somebody else, you go ahead and plan it.
Yeah.
And we leave things up for interpretation.
Yep.
And then we get to the restaurant or we get on a date and you like, man, I hate it here.
Yeah.
Right? But you like the person, but you hate what they set up just now.
Yeah.
That's what Jerry just did.
Yeah.
He left it for interpretation. So now the whole conversation is going to be, Jerry don't think that Dak is better than Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And even if Jerry felt that, lie, because Dak plays quarterback for your team, and you're about to pay him $52 to $55 million a year for this year to play football. So look,
You're
man,
lying out of the goodness of your heart.
Yes,
It's not like a real one. It's like
Molly,
a little
my
white
wife told me this, and I love her to death because my wife is a realist. Like, we live in a house of realness.
Yeah.
My wife tell me sometimes, baby, I gotta lie to you, and you gotta lie to me, so we don't have turmoil in the house sometimes. And it ain't no lie that's gonna change catastrophically.
Yeah.
It ain't no lie that's gonna change our life.
Yeah.
It's just something to say, hey, yeah, you did
You
a great.
overcook the chicken. You're not going to be like, oh, dinner tastes like rubber tonight.
Exactly. I'm
You're
gonna be like,
just gonna
babe,
no, it's
it
cool.
was
I'm not that
fine. It
hungry.
was good.
I'm going to go take a
There
quick
you
ride.
go.
I'm going to take a quick ride.
There
and
you
just
go.
pick something else up and
Right?
take a car real fast. You're not going to be like, this is hot garbage.
Like,
because you're grateful
golly,
for
bro.
the meal.
So RC here trying to be logical because my dog is logical sometimes. And then sometimes my dog want to rock with me and he want to go to the deep end.
You know what
Today he don't want the deep end.
I don't believe RC's being logical. I
Man.
believe he is on TV and on podcasts and on so many shows all the time, and he's just like, I'm tired of this. The same way Jerry is. Finally, he said what we're all thinking.
RC, I'm sick of it, bro. Don't do this to me, bro. I've been off.
Swag, but
let's go off the deep end.
Swag, think about this though. Think about Jerry. Think about the thought process of Jerry Jones, right? Because the thing that he couldn't get in trouble for, because remember he says, I always get in trouble for making comparisons. The thing he couldn't get in trouble for would be to say, Dak Prescott is our quarterback and Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in football, which we know is not true because Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. But this is a way that you can totally escape any comparison to Jordan Love. You don't have to say if he's better than Jordan Love or not. But Jerry, in his heart, though, Swag, in his heart, he truly thought to himself, I need to answer this question. And he's like, oh, wait, if I answer this real, I'm going to get in trouble. This is like when your old lady comes out and she has a dress on and you know it's the one she picked. And you may not love it. And it may not be the best. But you say, baby, that's the one. You know why? Because if you don't, y'all gonna be beefed out all night. And now she's gonna take another hour to get ready when you already late. So Jerry Jones couldn't bring himself to do that, and this is why we're here now.
Nope. If we're doing the relationship conversation,
come on,
it's like
Molly.
when someone brings up your ex to the people. That's what I would say. Very simple. You hold up a mic, this versus it. I don't get into the comparison game.
There you go, Molly.
It's very simple.
It's just simple. Is your new boo better? Do you feel better about your new boo than your old boo? Yes. But you know your old boo has some qualities you love way more than your new boo got. It's just that, bro. Listen,
you want
people. You know what I
You
said
want to
one time?
blend them.
No, Ryan, that's what you want to combine them. Sometimes you just want to combine. Well, they were flying high to start last season, winning 10 of their last 11 games before falling apart down the stretch, losing 6 of their final 7 games, including a 32-9 loss at the Buccaneers in the wild card round. Now, Philly's been busy since then, bringing in Vic Fangio to be the new D coordinator, adding Pro Bowl running back Saquon Barkley, and lost longtime Eagles Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox to retirement. According to ESPN Analytics, the Eagles enter the season with a 14% chance to win the NFC, 4th highest behind the 49ers, the Lions, and the Cowboys. If it happens, it would be Philly's 3rd trip to the big game in 8 seasons. Our own Dominique Foxworth had a take on the Eagles on Get Up yesterday.
I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC, and I think that they should be the front runners to win the NFC next year. Their biggest issue last year was coordinators, and they've addressed that. I think they have all the tools they need as long as they can coordinate the offense and defense to an above average level. They have a talent to be the best team in the NFC.
All right, Joey Joe, try to be objective here. We know you're from Philly, back on the East Coast. You're feeling good about yourself. Are the Eagles the best team in the NFC?
It's close. It's closer than it's been in a while in the NFC because we have a few teams on that top tier. I would go with the Lions. More on that in a moment. Okay. Philly's an interesting team to try to handicap because there's a lot of good. In part because of what we saw 2 years ago when they made the run to the Super Bowl. But there's a couple factors you have to remember from that season. Number one, they had the easiest schedule in the NFL. Number two, they were one of the healthiest teams in the NFL throughout the course of the season. They get to the playoffs. They got a playoff game against the Giants, who really got lucky to get there that season. Wasn't exactly a formidable challenge. And then played the Niners in the NFC Championship game. Brock Purdy gets knocked out. Josh Johnson steps in. Very favorable spot for Philly. They go to the Super Bowl. They perform admirably, but they come up short. So then the next year, everyone thinks Philly's going to be this big-time team, right? They're coming off a Super Bowl win. Well, they start to suffer more injuries. They lose 2 key coordinators, and they suffer serious downgrades at both those positions. And then it all starts to come unglued and unraveled, and the quarterback takes the big step back in his progress. So now we enter the third year of this little sequence. Are they as bad as we saw last year? No. They solved the problem with the coordinators. The loss of Jason Kelce is going to be huge on the offensive line. But are they as good as we saw 2 years ago? I don't think so. I think the NFC's tougher. I think the Lions continue to ascend upwards. They can beat you up in the trenches. And I love what Dan Campbell's doing with that team. I think they only learn based on what we saw them fail at last season, which is how they managed some of that game against the Niners. So it's close. It's really close. I give the edge to Detroit. Philly, not the top team right now.
All right, we're going to go.
Who you want to go?
We're going to go, Tim. No, it was just so good. We just wanted to let it breathe.
Is that good?
No, we want to let it breathe and marinate and make it a little awkward for you. You know, just have an awkward pause. We're just going to
do I walk off? Do I walk off?
No, it wasn't that good, though. Tim?
Well, I would say this. I actually agree with Joe's sentiment in terms of the Detroit Lions. I think it's a really good team with continuity. It's an ascending team with a quarterback that's playing, his best football. And I just think that there's a chemistry when you talk about the team. And I think as you relate that to the Philadelphia Eagles, Joe's right. Like, you had success, you lose 2 coordinators. Then that didn't go well. So this is the same group of players, but now the coordinators are different. So now in 2 years, you have 4 coordinators, running the offense and the defense. I think that's a significant issue. I also think you do lose locker room leadership, right? Like, Jason Kelce's gone. I think that does matter. So it's not an outlandish statement by any stretch by Dominic Foxworth. In fact, I think there's probably a lot of people that would hold that belief. And Philadelphia has a great roster. They do have really good coaches because they have added really good coordinators. But it's got to come together as a team. And when you look at the conference is really good. The Niners are going to be an excellent team. And I think the Detroit Lions, that team that's up there. And, oh, by the way, the Green Bay Packers could be in the mix. So, look, I think it's a fair statement. It would not be my choice. And I think there are just some things that need to get ironed out in terms of the leadership and how it all comes together in Philadelphia.
Herm?
Well, look, Tim makes some great points. Look, I do believe Philadelphia will be much improved, especially offensively, with Kellen Moore getting Barkley from obviously the Giants. They let Barkley take a cab from the Giants and come down to Philadelphia, and all of a sudden he's the running back. I don't know how that could happen, but
exactly.
He'll be more involved in the passing game. They will be better versus pressure. They'll start attacking the inside of the field. Defensively, drafted 2 defensive backs. That was their Achilles heel a little bit last year on defense. So I think there's a lot of moving parts here. But I do believe, Detroit is the hot team right now. Everybody's talking about Detroit. Don't fall asleep on San Francisco. I still like San Francisco. I like how they're made. They're a team that always seems to get to the championship game 3 years in a row now. They are dealing with some history here. They lost the Super Bowl. The 71 Cowboys were the only team that repeated back. The 72 Dolphins and the 2008 Patriots were able to get back to a Super Bowl. So I think the 49ers have a lot of pressure on them. They understand how good they are. They travel well. They have one of the best running backs in the game. Their team travels well. They can go on the road and dominate the game because they run the football and they play good defense. When you do that, that's travels. We always said this in football. Defense and a good running game travels. That travels.
Yep.
You take that on the road. If you can take that on the road, you can win a lot of football games. The thing that these guys got to worry about with the 49ers, are they exhausted? I mean, they've been in this situation the last 3 years. Are they emotionally this takes a lot of energy to do this over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And can they sign my former player, Brandon Ayuk, which I think will get done.
Yep.
The Niners were one of the healthiest teams in the NFL last year. It's very difficult to sustain that year after year.
Yeah.
When the injuries set in, the losses start to set in with it.
No, absolutely. But the Niners are definitely in the mix.
Correct.
And obviously the Eagles as well, and the Detroit Lions. And the Eagles, there were some question marks about Nick Sirianni and his job.
Yeah.
Some people were saying that he was potentially on the, hot seat. But there's another name I want to throw out, guys, and it might be a little bit of a wild card, but I was really impressed with Jordan Love and the Packers. And maybe it was because the expectations weren't as high. And I get it. It's, one playoff game, but how they were able to go into Jerry's world and what he did, and he didn't seem fazed by the pressure. Do you think there's any shot that the Packers could be one of the top teams when it's all said and done, Tim?
I really do. It's why I mentioned them. Look, I think it's Detroit. Now that division's tough because of the Packers. Look, they've got a really good defense. They've got a new defensive coordinator I think will do an excellent job. And I think when you look at Jordan Love, while the sample size is small for sure, if you look at the tear that he went on in the second half of the season, so basically week 10 on last year, 18 touchdowns, 1 interception, completion percentage was up near 70%. He was great. He was sacked 30 times on the season, but from week 10 on, was sacked only 11 times. It just tells you, the game completely slowed down for him. And nobody went into last year thinking, oh, look at this amazing supporting cast that Jordan Love has around him at receiver. So they did a good job of drafting receivers, and then he made those guys better, which is probably the best thing you can say about a quarterback. So, don't be surprised when he gets a new contract and, he resets the quarterback market. Everybody says, wait a second, how is he making more money than all these other guys on an average, per year average? It's going to be because everyone sees the signs of what he did last year and what an ascending player he is and what that means for Green Bay going forward.
Absolutely.
Young team on the rise, got better as the season went on. The receivers will continue to get better. The defense is solid. The coaching is solid. They check a lot of boxes. The thing about them, they're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. Everybody knows they have to take Green Bay seriously. And this is just the gambler in me, but when everybody loves a team, that's when I start to get a little bit nervous. Everybody loves Green Bay. Everybody loves Houston. Little concerned about both this year.
That's true. And, Coach, before you jump in, but what I find interesting with him versus a Houston situation, sorry, Coach, real quick, is in the past, I know these quarterbacks weren't as NFL ready, but, you'd sit for 3 years and you'd sit behind somebody and then you'd have to go out there. And now they're having to play right away. But he had that opportunity and he got to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, and you see how that's paid off. Coach?
Yeah, Molly, you make a great point. But I also make this point, too. When you watch this team last year, it went on the road